The most important subject in Ahmed Hulusi's teaching is the subject of Allah. This is so important that if this point is not settled, we misunderstand everything. We distort everything. Now, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You know, everyone is familiar with Bismillah. The thing we call Bismillah is actually Bi-Ismi Allah, Bi, the name of Allah. What was this Bi? How did Arabic summarize it? It was something like this, right? Actually, the letter B means this. If we draw it vectorially, it represents a point. This point is everywhere, distributed across everything. So whatever I talk about later, in reality, it all comes from this point. Nothing is separate from it. This point generates everything. For example, let's say there are 120 atoms. These 120 atoms themselves are like a single point. Everything, chairs, tables, flowers, plants, space, comes from these atoms. Nothing else. This B point says, now I will explain Allah to you because I am using the name Allah. Allah is a name. I'm not talking about some being outside. Everything I will talk about, whether it seems relevant or irrelevant, is nothing but the operation of a potential already within your existence. That is the most important point. Whatever happens, it is a potential inside you that functions. For example, we said there are 120 atoms. Likewise, the brain is one of these manifestations. Whatever happens, the brain always operates, and its features reveal themselves everywhere. But are those 99 names the qualities of a God above? Or are they the qualities of the potential created in your brain? From our perspective, they are the qualities of the potential in our brain. Muhammad said, "You are not a body. With infinite brain capacity, you create your world, your afterlife, your hell, and your paradise through the potentials in your brain. You are the one creating it, not Hassan, Hussein, or Hayretin, but the potential in the brain. We just assign names like Ahmed, Hayretin, etc. The name is unimportant. The potential itself is important. That's why Muhammad said, I describe these features in you with the name Allah. Allah is a name, not a being. It is like the Joker card in a 52-card deck. The name Allah can be applied everywhere, across all scales of existence, because the brain has infinite potential. Each potential is explained with a different name. Allah as a name has no single meaning. Its meaning depends on the context. So Allah is not an entity outside you. It is a name pointing to your own potential. The servant is the manifestation of this potential. Thus, the servant is Allah and Allah is the servant. When you realize this, you take the name Abdullah, the servant of Allah. That's why this name is used for both Muhammad and Jesus. In Sufism, it is said, Allah created man in his own form. This means man and Allah are the same reality. If you imagine God as something separate, you fall into duality and everything is misunderstood. Ahmed Hulusi summarizes it with this motto, from the idea of man thinking of God as man to man thinking as God. Religions, when misunderstood, make people imagine a God who thinks like humans. Then people end up fighting with that imagined God. But that God doesn't exist. Muhammad never explained such a God. The Quran repeatedly emphasizes, Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. This is a metaphor, the loop between brain and heart, thought and action, always returning to you. Everything you do comes back to you. That is accountability. Thus, all commands in religion are not arbitrary orders from a God above, but observations of how the system works. For example, eat with your right hand. It is not about God's whim, but about channeling positive energy. Ablution, wudu, is for taking in energy from water to sharpen the brain. Every command is actually a description of how the system functions. Therefore, Muhammad's explanation of Allah is this: Allah is not an external deity, but the infinite potential within you. Misunderstanding this leads to the false idea of God, the anthropomorphic God, which brings distortion, superstition, and suffering. Once you sense this, you realize that the Prophet Muhammad explained these features within you by calling them Allah. When he said Bismillah, he was pointing to this. He did not describe some God out there or a power far away. There is no beyond. There is no God somewhere else. That's why whoever says Bismillah steps into everything with confidence. This is why they tell us to begin everything with Bismillah. Sailors say Bismillah when they set sail. speaking, praying, arguing, cursing, all of these are nothing but the unveiling of the potential within us. Even cursing is explained with the name Allah. What does cursing have to do with Allah? For example, the name Al-Mudil means the one who lets fall into error. Isn't that considered one of Allah's names? So when you experience this potential in your mind in daily life, Muhammad explained it to you as Allah and also with the 99 names.